Hi, everybody. Welcome to the IT Topic Chat for today, Thursday, December 8th. Today, we're very happy to be joined by Corey Newhouse and Jess Manta-Meyer. I'm saying, if I'm saying your name correctly, and we're going to be talking about the Innovator. And I'll let you introduce yourself. Go ahead, Corey.
Sure thing. Thank you so much, Matt, and thank you all so much for joining today. I'm really excited to be with you. As Matt mentioned, I'm Corey Newhouse, the founder and principal of Public Profit. I'll talk a little bit about us in just one second, but also want to give Jess the opportunity to say hello as well.
Hi, good morning or afternoon, everyone. Jessica Manta-Meyer, and I've been working with Corey at Public Profit for 11 years, 11 and a half. Happy to be here kind of for the first time today, but as Corey's wing woman.
Wonderful. And today we are here to share a little bit about what is called the visionary and the integrator role. It's particularly in evaluation consulting. Public Profit is an evaluation consultancy. This stemmed from some conversations that Matt and I have had as fellow business owners over the years about the different strategies, approaches, resources that have been really helpful for us. And he asked me to join this group to share a little bit about that. And again, I'm really, really thrilled that Jessica can be here as well for reasons that will become very obvious very soon. So just a quick hit about Public Profit for those who are new to us. We do evaluation, strategic program design, and evaluation capacity building. We work with a really wide variety of mission-driven organizations, ranging from youth development organizations that work with kids in summer and out of school time, to public health initiatives, to philanthropies. The thing that really holds those groups in common amongst us and brings them to us is their interest in using data to make better decisions, enhance the quality of their services. That's really our heartbeat, and I suspect the heartbeats of a lot of folks who are here today. We just had our 15th anniversary, and we have 14 full-time employees. Right now, we've got about 40 concurrent engagements, and our gross revenue is about $1.8 million. I mentioned that just to give you all a sense of kind of our scale and our age. We started in 2007 with me and my cat Caboodle on my couch. It starts at all of these businesses start in really similar places, Public Profit included. The visionary integrator role is discussed in two books by the same author, a guy named Gino Wickman. The first book is called Traction, and a really helpful book that was suggested to us by a fellow evaluation consulting leader that is for businesses in general, that has some really helpful frameworks about how to grow a business, and in particular, how the founder can let go of the vine, as Gino says, to allow the organization to grow and thrive. The second book is called Rocket Fuel, and this is a book specifically about the visionary and integrator role. And I'll talk about that in a second. But just to acknowledge that these are ideas, these are practices that we've learned from these two resources. And in turn, we learned of this book, especially from our friend Gail Camacho at Informing Change, though definitely these are bestsellers. So lots of folks know about these books. And again, we wanted to share things that were really helpful to us about this role. And so one of the really helpful things from Traction is he writes about kind of three main organizational functions in any organization. We've tuned these up a little bit to be unique to our situation. But for us, we think about operations and finance, practice, and sales. These are pretty self-evident, and I think that the thing that is really helpful about Traction and the way that they present it is they write about how as you grow, when you start, you as the founder are covering all of these areas, and then as you grow, as you bring people in, you're bringing people in to help you with the business, often implicitly with these three areas. And they make the case that making these three areas a little bit more explicit and having one person who is the lead on these is really important to allowing growth. And so he talks about it's okay for one person to be in more than one of these seats. Where challenges begin is when two or more people are in the same seat. And so this basic framework has been really helpful for us at Public Profit to think about just the different roles, different kinds of mindsets that are needed within our organization. And again, in these three steps. Key role number one in this framework is the integrator. And the integrator is the person who is the glue, the connector, the person who is helping to make sure that these three different functions are mutually reinforcing, communicating where needed, have the right amount of independence, and again, find that sweet spot between clarity of role and independence, but not becoming silos. And so they talk about the integrator as the person who harmoniously integrates the major functions of the organization, and that they're the glue. So that is role number one, and in our organization, Jeff is very much our integrator. Role number two is the visionary. And the visionary is usually the founder or person who launches the business, the CEO. And as the name would suggest, the visionary is the person who's the big ideas person, the person who has that entrepreneurial spark and those connections with the field, and an idea about how to do things differently. One of my very favorite quotes is that the visionary typically has 10 new ideas a week. 9 of those ideas are not good, but it's that one idea a week that keeps the organization growing. And you can see Jess laughing because we are a very classic visionary integrator pair that I, maybe not 10 times a week, but pretty often will be like, Jess, I have this idea. I think it's really good. It might not be. And she is a very trusted source to say that is not a good idea, Corey, don't do that. Or that could be a good idea, or yes, that's an amazing idea. I think that's a really helpful, that has been really helpful for me. I'll talk about in a minute, just to kind of lean into what we are respectively good at. And so another quote from the book that I like is that the visionary and the integrator could not be more different. And I will say for myself, and Jess, I'd love for you to weigh in on this, that I think this has been just understanding these roles, and I'll talk in a second about like, well, what if it's just me, right? What if I don't have the benefit of having another person on my team? But I think that appreciating the mindset and the things that spark the visionary and spark the integrator are really different, and are really complementary, and that we bring equal passion and care for the work that express themselves in really different ways. And for me, that was really helpful to see that my strengths as a visionary and my weaknesses as an integrator meant that having an integrator on our team and being explicit about that was really important, and that it didn't mean that I was lesser as a founder or lesser as a practitioner. That those are not my strengths. Just that's where my spark is. On the flip side, and again, I know I keep saying I'll speak about this in a second. It is, while the visionary and integrator are really different, and in particular what kind of sparks us and where we want to spend our time, having deep trust in each other and deep regard for each other is really critical. And so while this is kind of a pithy statement about being different, difference held together with, again, really deep respect and deep regard for what each other does is really essential to making this work. Jess, I'm curious, just any thoughts about kind of what I've shared so far in your experience as the integrator on our team?
Sure, thanks, Corey. I put in the chat, I think, just to name that that your many good ideas a week, often they're great if we sort of rechannel them or move something else around to make them work, right? So some of it is great ideas, and then I think we work really well together to figure out how to like actually reasonably, feasibly execute those ideas, most of those ideas. So just naming that. I think this, I just want to echo kind of in reverse something that you just said, which is, you know, as someone working for an independent consulting firm, I think it was relieving to learn that my skills thinking about our internal team, thinking about the internal processes, thinking about how to make everything work together well in order to do good service and good work out in the world, but not necessarily being the person who was like really external facing, which I think you as the visionary are. Like that wasn't that we complement each other, and that wasn't a lack for me entirely. So that, you know, imposter syndrome or sort of self-doubt, I think this really helped me think about that. And then just, you know, triple +1, I don't know if that's a thing, but really +1 on the trust being a critical part of our relationship, and how we can then take care of our own lanes for a pretty long time, and then come back together and double check, and we haven't sort of veered out, knocked ourselves out of orbit in any way.
And so again, these are just some of the things that, as I was reflecting, you know, what makes it work. I think also really important is those aligned values for the organization. That for me, while the visionary integrator, largely because of my limitations in PowerPoint setup, while the visionary is, you know, was the little box above the integrator, I really see them as side by side, and a big part of that is having those aligned values, aligned vision for the organization. I think also some comfort with conflict, and this is something that in Rocket Fuel they talk about, especially that you're gonna disagree, and that's part of the role. Part of the role of the visionary is to push, and part of the role of the integrator is to refine and to caution, and that is in service of their shared values, that shared vision, and is okay. Again, I think made possible with that deep respect. And again, speaking for myself, I think that self-awareness and humility. Oh, I got my lights off, so I'm gonna have to wave my hand to reactivate them. There we go. Need to move more in my chair. Is really important, and this is something I think especially that gets written about in actually in both books about for founders especially. We need to get over ourselves and appreciate that, yes, we can do all of these things, and we have done all of these things, and should we be? and what is, you know, what is better held by someone else that gets life from it, that gets excitement from it, in the same ways that we get life and excitement from the things that bring us excitement. So yeah, so that was a huge revelation, again, that Jeff loves things that make me really cranky and that I have to like dig deep to do. and vice versa. And that's, again, a huge insight, totally amazing. And so, you know, I'm mindful that this group is a lot of solo practitioners, solo founders, or folks who maybe are, in your early stages of your business. And so I think that this idea of the visionary and the integrator can work really well also, and the ideas of finance and operations, practice and sales. And for me, I still have, you know, roles in each of those areas of our organization. And it's just been a really helpful reminder to me to manage my energy and my time. That the things that make me cranky, I still need to do them. I am not a toddler, and I need to kind of set myself up for success in that, in terms of time of day, time of week, whatever it is. And so I think had I known that when it was just me, I would have made very different choices in terms of how I manage my time. Another really helpful thing, if it is just you, and Matt and I are members of a mastermind group together, is to find a mastermind group or peer advisor, especially for the things that are harder for you as a founder, whether that's on the sales and visionary side, whether that's for you on the integrator and process side. Because there's lots of great tools out there. There's lots of great books out there. There's lots of great resources out there. And one thing evaluators do really well is learn new things. And this is included as some of the new things that we can learn. And then, again, if I had a chance to do it all over again, I'm very happy with what I've done, but I would have brought in a fractional chief financial officer or chief operating officer. There are folks whose practice is that. If you are a visionary, to really help you with those things. And that those are, I think, again, those are the sorts of investments fairly early on that can set you up for success as you grow, as you are focusing on sales, on the practice, in ways that, again, are aligned with your values and with what you want for your company, but are really leveraging the expertise of someone else. Jess, again, I'm curious, if you think about folks on the meeting who are currently solo practitioners or very small shops, other advice, kind of thinking about this visionary integrator and or the kind of those three areas of practice that we talked about?
I think one of the practices that that has helped us a lot is, and I don't know solo practitioner if this is I think it probably still is relevant, but has been like there are these different functions and there's different hats we wear, and so sometimes I'm like, I'm having a conversation between my integrator hat and my leading a project hat head. So thinking about creating acknowledging sort of the different needs that different roles, even if you're playing all the roles, might be having, and that's been a practice for me anyway. That's been really helpful over the last few years as we've, in the pandemic where there was a lot of needs by a lot of people in a lot of different directions, but it really highlighted that. But even as a practice ongoing, I think that's a great thing. Sometimes I do draw these grids. What do I need? What does Corey need? What does the business need separate from us? What does staff need? And if you're a solo practitioner, you could just say, well, what do I personally need, but what does the business need? And think about that separately.
Let's discuss, and I'll stop screen sharing so that we can see each other. And I'm happy to go back and share any of the slides that we have if there's a visual that would be helpful for you. We've also got a PDF copy of these slides that we can circulate around for you as well. But just super curious to hear what insights, what thoughts, for those who've already read the books, Traction and Rocket Fuel, any other insights or things that have been helpful for you as well. Great.
I have a question for you. The question come through. I missed it.
Kurt had a question as well. Yeah.
Go ahead and hit Kurt. I'll come next.
Yeah. So Kurt's question was around the qualifications of an integrator. Is business experience important, evaluation, great personality. And the book Rocket Fuel has a lot of great specifics on this. And again, I'll encourage Jess to ask as well. One of the things they say for the integrator is that they don't necessarily need experience within your business type. They should have experience in business in general. And I think of, for example, a lot of you know Gamani and Jessica, who are co-owners of Viva. Gamani does not have a background in evaluation and is an absolutely fantastic COO. And so I don't think experience in evaluation per se is necessary. I think that it is really helpful when it is someone who, again, has kind of a sampler platter of experience in operations, HR, knows enough to be able to be over those different areas to start. And then again, it has that spark and that interest in learning more. Jess, what else would you say?
Yeah, I think so I was I worked in nonprofits for a really long time and was an interim ED and a finance officer in nonprofits and self-taught. And so I think even though when I came to work at Public Profit, I was doing evaluation practice, I had that previous skills, and over time we've been able to think about ways to use those more, at least that perspective that I got from those roles, or agency-wide perspective. I think someone who's drawn, like me, someone who's drawn to sort of operations, having things run smoothly, thinking about internal systems, that, I don't have any formal training in this, or business for that matter. But that would be, someone who wants to make sure things are running smoothly, and has good ideas about that.
What about PMPs, project management professionals? Those project management skills, is that something the integrator needs either through formal training or just good experience? Or is that more down at the next level down, like at the practitioner level?
I think project management skills are really helpful for the integrator because there's a lot of agency-wide projects to manage, and a lot of it in some ways is a project management role. And of course, that is also for us at 14 people, that's what we expect our project leads to also have. So I think that's yes, both and.
And I shared in the chat, and again, these are all such silly names, Rocket Fuel University, where they have a lot of great resources, including kind of a self-assessment for people around like visionary and integrator, and is the test retest validity of it high? Who knows? But it's helpful, Cosmo Quiz Plus in terms of the kind of getting a sense of where you fall on the trajectory. I want to really underscore what Jess said. I think that having the good ideas and the confidence to move forward with them is really critical. And I think that's what distinguishes an integrator from maybe an operations coordinator or sort of other operations roles that that maybe are a little bit more about doing things that are already set out or kind of refining and improving processes that already exist. I think the integrator is that person, but is also someone who kind of can create those new processes, or co-create those new processes, has some vision and ideas for what those should look like, versus turning to the visionary or turning to someone else and wanting them to be able to identify all those steps, because that is generally not our strongest suit. Matt, great question. Finding Jess and giving up the integrator role. It must be difficult because it takes trust. I met Jess because she was the person who would come up after my presentations for a large evaluation project I was running and ask all the questions that I hoped no one else would ask. And she would be very kind and come and ask them of me directly. So I met her as the very smart woman with the very interesting last name, who had extremely good questions, particularly about the evaluation. So dumb luck is one of the ways that happened. And then I was thrilled to pieces years back when Jess reached out and was interested in making a shift in career to be in evaluation. Jess, you were fourth member of the public profit team. I think we were four, four. We were small. And so at that time, like a lot of organizations at that size, we were sort of everybody doing everything more or less. So this, our evolution as a team has been more organic than I think others may have been in terms of like looking for an integrator per se. But has definitely benefited us over the years. It has been hard for me, and Jess, I'll invite you to talk about how it's been hard for you in different ways, I'll bet. Not so much. a very strong protective streak. And so handing things over to Jess hasn't been hard because I felt that she wouldn't do them fantastically and usually much better than I could. But for concern of overwhelming her, giving her too much. And that was implicit in my head for a real long time. And being more explicit about that has been helpful. And again, I think that exceptional amount of trust and having worked together for a long time helps a lot. And again, just seeing that she does the integrator role so much better than I could even imagine doing it. And my goal is for public profit to be really thriving in a really great place that does great work, and is a great place to work. And so that's where my ego lies, not in being the one that has all the answers. Jess, what do you think?
We've been through some stuff together, which we don't need to go into, but like there's some things have happened for each of us in these 11 years and for the firm. So I think that when you stick around after that and get your way through that builds trust. So have hard things happen to you and then build trust with that person. I don't think that's great advice, but there's that. And then I think, after a while, you just kept saying things, Corey, like, I want us to grow. I want us to grow. And we sort of we'd hit a place where we were 10, bumping around 10. And every time we got to 11 or 12, someone would leave and we would sort of stay at 10 for a little while and then get back up to 11 or 12. And Corey wanted to get to closer to 15. And our colleague said, how do you do that? Said traction, look at that. And they said, are you stuck and not growing? And that's sort of the tagline for the book. And so in some ways we started for this other reason and then found this integrator visionary idea inside of that book or in that book and like light bulbs went off. So we fell into it a little bit.
Did either one of you want to address more specifically Iris's comment? And I guess the thing that I'm reflecting on with regard to Iris's comment is you said 11 years, Jess, meaning you guys started with her four years after the 2007 initiation of the cat. And so that seems early to bring in, to me, from my thinking about my world, to bring in an integrator. And so did you have a big staff then? Were you pushing near 10 in year 4, or did you bring her on early, late? Number of employees? What's your thought, and how would you do that differently, Corey and Jess both? Love to hear what you think about that with regard to Iris's comment.
I think we were probably closer to 5 or 6 years in and 8 or 9 people. And again, benefit of hindsight, would we have made different decisions? Probably. Who wouldn't? But I was technically supervising everyone in the organization when we were at like 10 people. And that was not good. And so, that was, again, this lessons learned. And I think one of the challenges, and this is still a challenge, is because we are a fee-for-service organization, we trade our time for money. The question of how much unbillable time gets assigned to people, and thinking about an integrator role, thinking about someone to supervise others, that's unbillable time. And that has been really hard to find that balance between our rates, what our clients can pay, how much unbillable time people within the organization have. So I think that was part of it as we were growing too, was just how to make the dollars and cents work out with the business model that we have. So that, that is part of it. And not knowing better, honestly, and that, as Jess said, I think we kind of fell into it and then were like, oh, wow, this is really helpful. You know, I wish I'd read this a few years ago, which is why I know Matt, pretty much every time we talk, I'm like, have you read the book Traction? Have you read the book Rocket Fuel? It's very helpful, because the concepts have been really helpful for us. And clockwork. So I think, you know, all else equal, you know, so Jess was not hired as an integrator. Let's make that very clear. She was hired as an evaluator, as a project lead, running projects. So that was, and sort of again, and sort of I was chief cook and bottle washer of the organization, for better or for worse, kind of holding all of those pieces, which I imagine almost everybody on the call can relate to. And so it was definitely more gradual, that more things got handed off from me, kind of starting with kind of more logistical, admin-y kinds of things, but then, you know, probably just what was it, 2-3 years in, that you started supervising people, you started having, yeah, kind of more of a role. So yeah, so we have developed this relationship. We kind of discovered this relationship and these strengths with each other. That was not the game plan at the time.
I'm reminded that we are still recording this, and I'm going to pause the recording for all of our folks who watch this on YouTube, and there's a bunch of those folks who do. This is what our conversations are like, our chats are like when we get into them, so it's kind of exciting. Usually you don't get a chance to see this part of it, but I'm going to stop recording. We'll see all of the people who are watching this recording later.